Welcome to Cinema Surprise, presented by the Penny Bloom Podcast, where every week we celebrate film, and one of us never knows what's coming next. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Cinema Surprise, presented by the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue with my fourth pick of the project, and my pick this week was La Chimera. It premiered at Cannes on May 26th, 2023, and it was written and directed by Alice Rohrwacher. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. I'm excited to talk La Chimera today, as this is one I've been hearing a lot about since last year at Cannes. The Cannes Film Festival, obviously, it's actually just concluded within the last couple days, recording-wise. I shouldn't break the fourth wall like that. That was like 8 weeks ago now. But it was... I was super disappointed that it wasn't going to be released in America for a very long time. I remember it didn't come out in America till March of 2024.
Oh, wow.
So it just hit theaters. It never made it to the AMC near us. I wanted to see it really bad. Couldn't. So I had to wait until last night when I watched La Chimera in anticipation of this podcast. And I'm so very happy I did. I'm happy to have gotten to know, Josh O'Connor a little better after Emma and Challengers. It was nice to get immersed into this with him, and goddamn is he good. I fucking adored this movie. I thought that it was beautiful to look at, unbelievable visually, and it provides this dreamlike visage of 1980s Italy that I think is utterly astounding. It could be 20 years earlier. It could be 20 years later. And the fact that it never really matters, but the aesthetic permeates the whole time is fucking wonderful. How did you feel about La Chimera?
Man, no, yeah, I didn't even really think of the time period, but yeah, it does just kind of meld. It is kind of just, it does feel like before, but for some reason it feels like it could be right now. At the same time,
modernity to it, yes.
But no, yeah,
That's
it was
purposeful. Also, we'll get to that.
Man, it was beautiful. I mean, I love the aspect ratio changes and the film just borders, on whenever they did change, and it wasn't just black, I don't know, it kind of had a grain to it the whole time, or I don't know, sometimes the grain was harsher depending on the aspect ratio, or there was a filter on it depending on what was happening.
It's the type of film that they were using. They switched between film stocks throughout the movie, between 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter,
okay.
and
So
it's literal film. Yes,
wow. Okay,
man, and that's what's so cool is that using archaeology, where you're diving into the past and history, and there's a lot of flares in this where they do revert to the old timey sped up silent film action sequences.
Get in the
stuff.
Car and
and like the music speeds up and everything. I think that there is an obvious love of cinema that permeates through this movie, and I think that there is a love of humanity and life and where we go next, and I think that that's really, really cool. There's a thing that I get from this movie where, like, initially upon finishing it last night, I felt kind of like I did after Arrival, where I was like, okay, this movie is grappling with death and how we reflect upon the dead and how we miss them once they're gone, and how, but there's nothing we can do to change it. But the more I've gotten to sit with it, I've thought of it more as being about the beyond and trying to find it and trying to get there, and gain access to it almost, which is without dying, because there is and it's complicated. One of the things that really this movie reminded me of is an old Greek myth about Orpheus and Eurydice is how I'm going to pronounce it. Eurydice. It might be Eurydice, Eurydice. I don't know. Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus and Eurydice get married, And on the day of their marriage, Eurydice gets bitten by a venomous snake and dies. So Orpheus goes into the underworld and begs Hades and the lords who oversee it for her to regain access to their world. And it's him trying to gain access to that world, him trying to find her again, and then him ultimately trying to bring her back to the land of the living. But and this is where the story itself deviates from what I think the myth kind of does. But ultimately, the rule was like, you can't look back at her until you are in the land of the living. Do not look at her until you are there and you know she is there. But he looks back too early, and she's lost to him forever.
Okay. Huh.
And I think that there is a certain degree here where Arthur's lack of interest in profit and he obviously has a different sentimentality towards what they're doing versus the rest of the Tombarils.
Yeah.
What is that? What they're called?
Is that just like grave robber?
Tombaroli.
Like
Tomb Raider.
Like, oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Tomb Raider.
There
Tombaroli.
Yeah. And
yes.
does he have some sort of gift? Like how he finds these? Like with the stick and everything. Did I miss something there, or does he?
No,
just,
they never explain that. They never
just...
explain that. It's just he uses a divining rod and finds stuff. I think he has a connection to the beyond, as I was saying. I don't think it's strictly a connection to the dead.
Is he already
You could perceive
dead?
it as him knowing. There you go. There's a line from a poem by Christina Campo, which I actually looked into it after to see if it was an influence in any way, because it felt like it was, and it was. Alice Rohrwacher has mentioned it in an interview, and it starts with a line that says, "There are two worlds, and I come from the other." And it feels like we're in Italy. He's an Englishman. He doesn't fit in. Even in the end, whenever you think he's found solace, you think he's found peace, you think he's in the right place, he's surrounded by women and children, it's obvious this isn't... He's not fitting like a glove. There is no place in this world that actually suits him. He doesn't belong here. He belongs with Benyamina in the beyond, wherever that might be. And I think there is a certain...
Okay. Yeah, maybe he is actually alive in the movie, but he's just already dead, metaphorically. Like this world 100%. Is not, it's not his world anymore. Yeah, it used to be, and now it's not.
Deeply romantic. It's a deeply romantic sentiment. It was his world until Benyamina died, which is why ultimately I love Italia. I love Italia in this movie, but there's never a point in the movie where you can tell it's clicking on both sides.
Yeah, no,
and even when it does, you kind of go, this doesn't feel like it's happening organically. It's almost like he's trying one last time to connect himself to this world when it doesn't work the way he thinks, he leaves and he finds his gate. I view it as the gate to the underworld, what he accesses at the end there. Now, obviously, there is the perspective that he dies there, which is 100% fair, and probably what happens.
Yeah.
But it connects to a shot earlier in the movie that I think is really, really compelling. Early on, you see the thread unwinding from her dress and getting stuck in the ground, and she's trying to pull it out. Now, there's a few ways you could perceive this, and the way that my hopeful side, which is the idea that the living earth is for some reason more valuable than the afterlife. There's an argument to be made there too. What makes life here more important than the next life? It's just because we're living this life is why I think that this life would be more important. But where she's tethered to it. She's literally, there is a part of her tethered to the ground. And when he finds his way through, She is no longer attached to it. She is now free.
Oh.
And now you could, like, and that's why I'm like, there's all sorts of way you could perceive this movie. And we're only 10 minutes into this fucking episode, and I'm already deep in the fucking thick of it. There's all sorts of ways you could perceive the way this movie goes.
Because my first initial thought with the red line or, yarn is that whenever, like, the memory, it felt like it was slowly revealing itself, like, over time. Like, we would get a little bit more. And I thought it was like a mine or something that, I don't know, you yanked it out and like an explosion killed her or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because is it ever explained how she did, like, how she does die? Was she never...
We actually know very little about anything that happens prior to this movie. There is one part in the movie that indicates that Arthur just got out of jail at the beginning of the movie.
That's yeah. Okay.
It's it's homeboy who's like, "What, did you like jail or something?"
Mm-hmm.
You know. And the ending gives you a revelation.
That's the very beginning. He's with those people at the very beginning.
He's haunted. He's not haunted. He's connected to them. He carries them with him. He has a connection to the dead that other people don't, and a connection to the beyond that other people don't. I think that's how I perceive his ability.
I feel like the stick thing or whatever, it was kind of just funny to me at the first couple times, but then whenever he did it in front of the other guys, and he started walking on like the wooden planks and then avoiding the nails perfectly and like walking, it felt like very like, you know what, this dude's got something, like there's something to this. It's not just kind of a whatever throwaway thing, and I think I like that explanation of that he just isn't kind of this world anymore, and that's maybe a way of seeing through to the other world somehow, and it's guiding him.
And they flash to that 16 millimeter nearly square aspect ratio every time he's dreaming. And we perceive it as dreaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think it's a vision of what's on the other side. That's kind of how I view it, because he's seeing her. He's seeing Benjamina, and we see at the end of the movie that it's not a memory. We see at the end of the movie that it is how he is unearthed, if you will. There's a rebirth thing going on at the end of the movie too that I think is really interesting. And I like...
So if you, I guess literally, it feels that if you want to take it very literally, she died earlier before the movie started.
Yes. 100%.
He feels lost without her. He dies at the very end after this accident in the tomb.
And he's reunited
and now
with her.
He's back with her.
And that is a perfectly good read of the movie and a perfectly enjoyable and moving read of the movie. That's why I'm like, there's no... Obviously, there are wrong reads of things, but like that, I would 100% accept that. That's not something I'd be like, you're reading that wrong. No, like that is...
I feel like that's like the literal base bones of what you can pull apart, but that's not what it's really going for. I don't know.
No, there's clearly
there's something else there, like he's haunted.
Fairy tale.
He wouldn't be haunted, and like that train, like the first train sequence, it does seem innocent. Those people don't seem like they're dead, and that those are his ghosts. Previous ghosts that he robbed.
You almost look ancient.
Now looking back on it, it's like, oh, come on. Like, how can I not notice it?
He wakes up, and they're laughing at him, and then the guy goes, "You stink," you need socks, you stink. This, and so immediately, you're like, this is odd. You don't necessarily perceive it as not real, but you are going like, there's something unreal about what's happening. There is something that is weird, just generally weird about what's going on in this scene. And then my favorite shot of the movie is actually very early on, even though it is a gorgeous movie I mean, there's not a moment in this movie I don't think looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's when the camera is in the hallway outside of his little carriage part.
Oh.
And the light is shimmering through the trees, and all the people are sticking their heads out of theirs, and they're looking at him, and he walks up to the window, and he looks back, and everyone's gone except for the dog. And there's a really interesting relationship this movie has to animals as well, and the goddess of animals.
Oh.
And La Chimera, there is a connection to, I'm trying to remember, I know La Chimera as an illusion, like a...
Oh yeah, I guess I haven't even thought of what the title has meant, what it does translate into.
But there's another one.
Unrecognizable dream, or unrealizable dream.
There is also the Chimera in Greek mythology, which is a fire-breathing she-monster having a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. So there's also there is another animal tie there in the name. So it is interesting to see, he cherishes this goddess of animals. It's what kind of snaps him, you think, out of his habits, temporarily. He's like, why would you destroy this thing? This is, it's not for human eyes, what's going on here? And I don't know. I think it's interesting to think of the relationship that animals might have to the beyond compared to us, and maybe they're playing with something there.
Yeah, because that was a different. Like, they all agreed. They're like, this is not normal. This is a shrine. This is like this is something special. And then there were all those little animals surrounding it too. I mean. And he was kind of like in a daze there too. Like while they were taking the head off, he was kind of just like not kind of there. And then whenever he snapped in and then he realized the head was gone and they were about to take off more, he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And he just instantly wanted to stop it, but it's weird that it took him. Why? It was so fast. I don't know. They just decided to chop the head off so fast. It felt like I don't know. So maybe he just didn't have time to react, or it seemed like that was just common practice for him.
They were like, we've done it before. We'll put it back together. Like, there's clearly something that's different about this time. So I think that it's obvious that Benyamina's death is having an effect on him on the earthly plane, because I do think that there is. I don't think he's searching for artifacts. Like I said, I think he's searching for a way to find Benyamina again, however that might be. Whether in the literal sense it's a death wish, going underground and it's a dangerous game. Maybe I die at some point. There is that possibility, but there's also there's a lot of ties to Greek mythology, I feel like, and finding the underworld. And when they go to those inverted shots, I don't think it's just a flashy camera choice. I think it's representing what he's experiencing in that moment. Like, he is in another world. This is what he's experiencing, I don't think it's just like, whoa, this is offsetting. This is weird. He's experiencing something. I think it's specifically what he is feeling is like he is on the other side.
And I love whenever they first crack into it and then all the paintings just fade. You see them all just fade instantly. And it's like, I don't know if that's for real. But if it feels like it makes sense. I don't know.
No, there's certainly something to the idea that something that hasn't been exposed to air in 2,000 years.
Yeah, maybe not instantaneously like that. I don't know, but definitely, maybe it's just the idea is there that it's now open. It's going to be trampled on. People are going to come in and out of there, be getting all this stuff. It's not, it's never going to be the same.
Right. And that's they mentioned the Etruscans a lot. The ancient inhabitants of Tuscany, which precede the Romans even. And they valued the beyond. They spent more time building graveyards than they did buildings.
Wow.
Because they valued the next plane more than this plane. And they created art that was not meant to be seen again. They created things that were for the dead. They weren't for anybody else. So like, and that's what I think Italia is really, really great at representing in this movie. She's kind of an inverse to Arthur's character, where they're both obviously in not great situations. You know, they have certain ways to look at life, and there's Arthur's way, which is clearly not happy. He is a melancholic, angry, empty being. It feels like there is something within him that's not there, you know, that, or there should be something within him that's not there. And then Italia has all this circumstance. You know, she's got two daughters, seemingly of different fathers, or two kids. I don't know if the younger one is a boy or girl. Two children, seemingly of different fathers, who she has to hide, and she has to keep away from her boss, or her teacher.
Man. Yeah. And like, is that his biological mother, Arthur's biological mother, or just like
no, that was Benjamina's mother.
Okay, yeah. And then so she's I don't know, maybe just dementia or Alzheimer's, something, you know, I don't know, or she's just never been told the truth that her daughter's never coming back. Is that like the idea, or is it just, you know, in her old age she forgot and they don't want to keep reminding her over and over, you know, that she's not coming back?
I have a tough time reading that. I have a tough time even reading if the sisters know that she's dead. There's a line that Flora delivers, played wonderfully by Isabella Rossellini, absolutely fantastic actress, where she says, "Benjamina, I could never hold her down. She was going to leave. She was going to go, and there was nothing I could do to stop that." Now, I do think, in my heart of hearts, that the daughters do know that Benjamin is dead. But there is the chance that you could perceive it as them being like, you have to accept that when Benjamina left, it meant you were never going to see her again. Like, that was it. Benjamin is not coming back. And I don't necessarily think that, but, you know, like they had to inform Italia of that, and Italia is always with Flora, and maybe there is a chance that Flora just doesn't believe it. Like, there is like something in her mind that just won't allow herself to believe that Benjamina is gone.
Because there wasn't there a point where it was brought up like directly, where it was like, well, oh yeah, it was whenever it was like, we got to get out of this house. Like, it's with the dampness, it's too, you can feel it. We have to get out of here. And it's like, well, what if, you know, we need a place to stay if she comes back? And then they're like, she's not coming back. You know, it was like kind of like a definite, like that. Are those just her other daughters right there, or is that like a mother and then like is that like multiple generations there, or is that just all?
I couldn't really tell you. I'm pretty sure they're all her daughters. I'm pretty sure they're all her daughters. But yeah, I'm talking about, and I do think that's what it is. It does feel more like they're telling her she's dead.
Okay,
but
yeah, I was just I thought that it was that she was possibly Arthur's biological mom, and I'm like, I don't know what I was like. Flora was his mom, but it was just at the beginning, like whenever she took him in, it was just like, oh, my only best, you know, my only friend in the world, you know, and like, just threw her daughters just absolutely aside and just like didn't care. It was like, oh yeah, light a cigarette, and they're like, what, in here? Like, he can smoke? He's like, yeah, he's a man. You know, that's why. Just because he's a man. Fuck it, and like just doing anything for him, and because. Man, at the beginning, I didn't know how high Arthur's reign was gonna go. I'm like, this dude, everywhere he goes, people are either like afraid of him, or they're just like giving him everything, or and I'm like, what did this dude do? I'm like, what is this man? How is he connected? And
he's known as the Englishman, which is pretty fucking hard.
We've got eyes on you. Yeah, they're like, and we know,
especially the Englishman,
and we know you. Yeah, and it's like, what? Yeah. Like, why? Like, we don't know. I mean, maybe it's just his gift. You know, it's like this dude finds graves at an uncanny amount. Like, this dude is like. grave robbing, I don't think anyone thinks it's like okay. I
Right.
feel like even the grave robbers themselves have to realize like, damn, we're taking some stuff that's not ours. The justification is probably like, well, they're dead, we're not. We can use the
Yeah.
money now. I see that, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah,
It's pretty unethical.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But man, I think if you saw someone just doing it at this scale, at this rate, you'd be like, what's going on? I mean, maybe there is something, maybe you do got a gift or some sonar to dead things. We got to
Right.
check that out. And then cuz I love how they're acting like they're the police, and they
Hmm.
pull up in the cars and they're like, "Oh my, the police up their budget? Like what's going on? Like how are they have
Why are they
afforded?"
not chasing us? Yeah.
And then yeah, it's just nope. No, you're just getting conned.
Spartacus. Hmm.
Man, the long con. Didn't expect that in here, really at all. And what a crazy black market setup, in a pet store or whatever. You go to a pet store and then that one red button in that yellow room. That's a whole different vibe. That's
Whole different world
at
back
like
there.
Tenet, freaking.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what else to compare it to other than the Tenet time machine. I don't
Yeah. The
know.
turn the turnstile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean that was just hilarious. It did just feel like a dream. Like felt like this was his hell at the end. That was like kind of my thought that was like, but maybe at the end it was, I don't know.
I tend to view like the movie throughout is his quote unquote hell, and what he achieves at the end is his heaven. I think that ultimately a life without Benyamina for him was not a life worth living, and he was doing everything he could to find her again somehow. Um, that's kind of how I perceive it anyway. Because even Italia, like his relationship to Italia, the moment she's trying, and
Mm,
she digs the vibe, and who wouldn't, you know?
yeah.
That's a fine man there.
Mm.
But the the moment on the beach where they're all about to go swimming and he's standing there and she like leans her head up against him and he like turns. It's like that
Yeah.
moment he like loses control of himself. Like it's not even him
Oh.
anymore. Um so like
Huh.
there's like a really interesting idea for me where it's like Italia is almost uh, I don't know, a signal amplifier for him almost. Like whenever he feels the feelings she's experiencing, he's like it reminds him of Benyamina, like I think
Mm.
is ultimately the case. It reminds him like, oh, I should be feeling something stronger than I am right now, but I can't because I cannot stop thinking about the one who's gone, as it was put by his fellow Tomb Raider earlier in the movie, who was like, whenever they're about to take the photo for the first time, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "You look lost," and he's like, "Oh, he's thinking about a woman. Are you thinking about a? Yeah, he can't focus on any other woman because he's always thinking about the one who's gone. And I think that's ultimately what holds up him and Italia's relationship, and I think Italia represents. I mean, her name is literally Italia.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally Italy.
Like I feel like she just represented life and just kind of growth, like
Yeah.
growth everywhere she went. Like that train station, it was meant for nobody, in her eyes, I guess. But in Flora's eyes, it was meant for everyone. It's a public building, meant for everybody.
Hmm.
But then when she goes there, it turns into a home and like this a better functioning school,
Right.
than what Flora had running, and and maybe yeah, maybe that is all it is that Italia was like Arthur's connection to the living, that it was just the pure connection to life. Because he did have like good moments with her. Like I don't know, like he did just watch her like on the dance floor,
Hmm.
which was beautiful as well. Like
Gorgeous
the
sequence.
lighting and
Very
everything, and her
Fellini-esque.
just
Yeah.
oh my god, it was beautiful. And then whenever they do take that walk and they run in front of everybody else, and they are having just that good time before he gets out in that daze, and he is, maybe it is because like he is feeling the, love again, and then it's like, oh well, I felt love before, well that's connected to the other world, now I'm in ghost, tomb raid mode. And it's because it does feel that he is obviously very different from the rest of the group. The rest of the group is in
Mhm.
it for profit, and that's it. Get in, get out, sell it. That's all they care about. But he's kind of just the locator. And that's it. Um, and he has his little stash, or whatever, I guess, in his little tree bin
Mhm.
barrel. But um,
I like to think that those were the things that belonged to the people he sees
the train.
on the train. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, the bell. That's what one of them
Yeah.
said. The bell, that was
Yes.
mine. The iron.
The lighter he carries is the conductor.
Uh-huh.
So like it's
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's what they all come from, and that's
wow.
like that's really cool. And there's a lot of things that almost feel like the sequences with the troubadour when he is literally singing about their lives.
Mm,
I severely doubt that that's quote unquote real.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that feels like a
Mm-hmm.
but they use those moments to show the Tumbaroli watching him perform that. And both times he sings, Arthur walks away. He's absent. He's not there. He almost he can't have and doesn't process things in a worldly manner, like the stories, the way that he would be perceived in real life. That's not important to him. This
Mm-hmm.
isn't his world. It doesn't matter what they think of him. He's got a bigger goal in mind. Because the second time is on the train. The second time is on the train where he runs into the um the previously dead
Mm-hmm.
people whose tombs he's raided. So I think that there is an interesting idea where he's drawn to that and away from the real world, if you will.
Wow.
It's almost like a call. Like again, it's almost like he's not in control of himself. The first time he starts singing, he just kind of like gets up and saunters out of the room as soon as he starts singing, and it's not really like he doesn't look thoughtful. He doesn't look like he's like, I don't want to hear this. It just kind of looks like this isn't for me.
Hmm.
This isn't what I'm here for.
Yeah, because I guess him being underground and trapped there at the end, and the yarn being there, he could have just already died straight from that impact, and he is dead straight from there. Or like,
Mm-hmm.
he did live and he did walk down there, and they're whatever. But like, it felt like that is his resting place or whatever.
Yeah.
That's where he's done, and he finally, that was the final thing. Sadly, that's what it took. Like he couldn't live in this world anymore. If the way he wanted to live.
Yeah. If he wasn't
And
like you just, I think it was off mic, but right before the episode, you said like the situation he had was like the perfect life.
mm,
If he wanted to settle down there, he could have,
mm-hmm.
And if that's not fulfilling, nothing will be,
Ah, I
Like if he
see.
could spend a night there and be like,
And be like,
this isn't what my
wow,
life is meant to be,
even
that
this,
means there
yeah.
is no life for me beyond what I've been doing.
I see.
Um,
Because yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. Maybe there are just different people in the world, but that would seem like a perfect. I mean, obviously you could want more money and have nicer things and everything like that, but at the root cause right there,
that place ruled.
that's I don't know. That's a dreamscape. That's on the dream board. I don't know, or something. That's I'll file that away.
Living
For
with
for
12
good.
women and children and being their servant. Deal.
I mean,
I'm in.
pancake. That little girl that was like, "Can you make pancakes?" I'm like, dude,
The
I
almost
would
like
love to make some pancakes.
chorus of voices at points in this movie. Whenever like the sisters would overlap with
Mm.
talking to each other, but like, and it almost seemed like
Ah.
it was very specifically coordinated for like certain people to be prevailing at
Mm-hmm.
certain point in their tone. And that sequence at the end with all the women and children being like, can you do this, can you do this, can you
Mm-hmm.
do that, can you do this, could you do that,
The
could you do this?
growling.
um
I mean, like,
oh, that's my favorite scene. That is my
dude,
favorite scene in the
that
movie.
was like, oh man, it was like I knew, like with the water, like with the water over there, I'm like, please throw that thing over the edge. I'm like, just do it. I'm like, you got to get there. And so
You're
I
not
was
meant
really,
for human eyes.
I was hoping for it, and he faked me out though. He kept walking back in. I don't know. He walked back in before he threw it. And I'm like, wait a minute, are you? No? I'm like, hold on a minute, but just getting there, the whole unraveling of it all, and then seeing just how industrialized it is and how it's like, yeah, this is legitimate. It has legit documents. We know where it comes from. It's been carbon dated, blah blah blah. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, damn, how much of real archaeology is just grave
Plunder.
robbing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh my
No, a
god.
lot of it. A lot
Yeah,
of it. That's
that's
what's, I mean, like, notoriously, museums are
yeah.
cool, but they're incredibly unethical places, typically. If it's not a local museum where it
Yeah.
is the history of the place you are in, like, we have a statue at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art that's like from 200, 300 BC, and it was made in Africa. It's like, why the fuck do we have that? Like, why the fuck is
Yeah.
that in Kansas City?
Uh
And
that's
so
a weird.
that's
Weird.
it's
There's
mm-hmm.
a weird gray balance. It's like more people could see it here. You don't have to travel all the way there, but it's like, well, it was made
Should we
there, and that's where it belongs. Kind of, that's where the original people made it. If you want to see it, we have the beautiful internet now, and if you want to see it in
mm-hmm.
person, I think you
go and do it?
you make the travel. That at least makes sense to me. But yeah, this I love I love archaeology, but this is definitely a side of it that I didn't even really think of. That
Yeah, there's a dark
definitely
side to it. There is a
occurs.
dark side
Yeah.
to it, and
Yeah.
and that, like, that's what's interesting is that this movie makes a point to show that there are the down and out people trying to dig themselves out of a hole, kind of trying to make it. They are impoverished, but they're trying to make money. So what they have to do, it's a form of exploitation by the rich people who do run the museums and have that opportunity to buy and
Mm.
collect these things. Is like, well, these motherfuckers will go out and do it, and I'm gonna go ahead and capitalize on it. I'm gonna go ahead and get the
Damn.
benefits. Um,
Yeah, it's rough. I mean it was a very, I guess, grim movie on the like now talking about it, it seems like it the more and more
mm.
we bring up, but like I don't feel that way
No,
at all.
I
Like
don't at all. I think it's actually a quite happy ending,
yeah.
which is
Yeah, it feels like stress relieved. Like it feels very like that the yarn cut, like it was like the final earth
they're no longer
earth
tethered
or
to the
yeah.
earth. Yeah, like
Um
they are beyond it now. And yeah, no, I felt an incredible,
wow.
like, I was crying when I
Oh,
finished this movie last
dude.
night, dude. It
Yeah.
was
Oh my dude.
um
Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like I cried. I'm trying to remember. I feel like I cried before.
You're Not Meant for Human Eyes was another one that did it for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's true. Um that was a big
When
one.
he
Even
reunites with Italia, whenever he's doing the whole sequence where he's getting cleaned up for her with her daughter and stuff, that was
oh,
moving. It wasn't like a tear up moment, but it
yeah,
was like,
it was
oh,
just
this is
cute.
cute.
Yeah, it was.
He's trying, he's trying again, and like,
Mhm.
and then the realization that no matter how hard he tries to fit into this world, it's just not his. And I think that like, kind of watching
Mhm.
him get up and watching Italia watch him walk away was another one that hurt. Um,
Yeah. Damn, the slow arm feeling for him, and then she's like,
mhm.
"What?" And seeing him at the door, I was like, "No, yeah,
He's
no." Like,
already gone. He's
uh,
already gone, and I think that that's kind of a
why does he have to be the same? Like in Challengers, he uses good looks to squat in places. At the core, this movie's very different. I don't want to put Arthur down at that level, but god damn it, does he use his good looks to just stay wherever he needs to. It works. Not in Emma though. definitely a stranger character there.
Yeah, no, definitely a gold digger there, and Emma
Oh
is
yeah,
trying to social climb.
yeah. But no, here I think this is my favorite Josh O'Connor so far. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll have to I have to watch Challengers again because I liked his performance, but it wasn't who I was focusing on.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, as far as who, like, the character and the
but
performance by Josh O'Connor, I would say this is my favorite Josh O'Connor.
yeah,
Um,
he's leading.
and don't get me wrong,
And
I love him in Challengers.
hmm
There's some subtle stuff he does in Challengers that is just really fucking good.
oh
But
man, yeah, no, he did great, and he got. I mean, I don't really think there is another performance that.
no.
Yeah, I mean, like no,
Carol Duarte as Italia is really
yeah,
good. She got my character though.
yeah. I feel like, and if you want to give her, I can give Arthur the character, but even then, I don't know. I feel like it. I mean, like the most likable character there is. I mean, this is it. Just how can you?
I don't think Arthur's particularly likable. He's not particularly interesting, and I think that's a point of the movie. Like they are
He's just
trying to be
not
like
here. Yeah,
he's
he's
not
just.
here. This isn't where he belongs. He feels out of place in every single aspect of his life, And Natalia almost gives him the illusion that he belongs, and the and his gang of Tomb Raiders make him feel like. And even then, he doesn't really fit in. They're a group of Italian Tomb Raiders, and he's an English guy who they're clearly taking advantage of.
Mm.
They he
Oh, and that one wasn't there a different song, or maybe it was just the same song, but a different verse of it or something, where it was just like, um, push for profit, and that's all you care about is money. When at the end of the day, it's like, I don't like I feel like that. I don't, oh my God, what did they say there? Something about money and profit and um, I don't know, like wanting. I feel like there's a philosophy of like giving up all of maternal and or just not maternal
material.
material value and going back to just root I don't know just
Hmm.
absolute necessity. I
Yeah.
feel like there's and they I feel like maybe that was brought up in that song, but I don't know. Um, or maybe the idea of it was brought up in the song,
Right.
not
Yeah,
necessarily
one of
name
my one
dropped,
of my
but
favorite lines in the songs was the Tombarolis are just a drop in the ocean. Like
mm,
they they
hmm,
seem larger and they seem like a big deal within the context
mm-hmm.
of the movie, but they're not the only ones doing this. They're not the only ones desecrating the earth. They're not the only ones desecrating what came before. Um, they're not the only ones. They are just a drop in the ocean. And I think that there is a really
Whoa.
interesting relationship this movie has to the past and how time evolves. Like even the train he's on at the beginning looks much older than the train he's on at the end,
Hmm.
which I think is interesting. Um, and I don't know if that's exactly purposeful, but I think that there is an interesting evolution towards the industrialized by the end of this movie versus the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and on the boat,
Um,
he's in the engine room, and you see
hmm
the kachoka kachoka,
They're just
just another
they're just a
cog.
cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Only a pawn in their game, as Bob Dylan would say. But yeah, no, it's a
Hmm.
strong fucking movie, man. And I know I've already said this, but I adored the way it looked. I mean, there was not a single moment in this movie that I was like, "Oh, that's not good looking." There's a moment whenever Josh O'Connor is standing, like the way they photographed architecture and landscapes was utterly ravishing. When the two cars pull up to the what I think is about to be the vet or the pet store
Mm-hmm.
on the inside, but it's like a giant blue building, so it's clearly more than that. Gorgeous shot. There's a shot where Italia is rolling Flora out of her house. And like
Oh.
the depth of field is really interesting because it looks like they're on the same plane, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously Arthur's much closer.
Oh yeah.
And dude, I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous shit. Whenever during the tomb raiding sequence, the montage, when the troubadour is singing, There's a beautiful shot where they lie on the ground and then they get up and run away, and you see the layers of the hills in the background. Like, just
Mm,
gorgeous shit all
yeah.
over this
Yeah,
movie.
I it might sound crazy at first, but definitely on this list, the only movie visually to compare is Casablanca, that we have
Yeah,
so far, and it's to say that this is visually better than Casablanca is, I mean, I don't
it's different.
that's a bold
Yeah.
statement, but like it is at least it seems more beautiful, more pleasing to look at, just off just it's nature. I don't know. It's color. It's beautiful. It's
No,
like
it's
it's
different.
it's
Yeah,
a whole
like
different
it
ball game
is.
here.
It is a whole different ball game.
Um,
Yeah, and I think that this movie is beautifully lit. However, like whenever he wakes up on the train and you see the bar splitting his face, it's in the window and stuff. Like
mm,
that's fucking gorgeous.
yeah.
And so like it is hard to compare black and white photography to color photography. It's automatically a different ball game. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I would 100% agree. I do think this is more pleasing to the eye, but I also think that
Not as
there's not as much stagecraft at hand. There's not as
yeah.
much.
Not
It's a different
purpose
thing.
behind it. It's
Yeah.
just naturally already beautiful what they're
Mm-hmm.
shooting, and
Mm-hmm.
there is still thought behind it and the
Oh,
blocking of it all and
100%.
stuff. But yeah, I mean, I took down quite a few shots. I loved every time it did flip. And
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really clocking that it is like the between different worlds, but now I like it even more. That it flipped, and especially whenever he was like kind of like having what seemed like a panic attack, and like it flipped really fat, like instantly, and then he fell, and then like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know, that was really cool. But ones that just looked really nice to me were they went into, I think it was like the wasn't the grave they went into that had the big statue. It was before that. It was, I think, just during maybe the montage of just them kind
Mm-hmm.
of going ham. But he finds some. I think it might have been whenever he found the bronze rattle thing. Maybe, I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
think it might have been something else. But it was just he had his candle in his hand. I think it might have been off camera though. But it was lighting him, his face, and just, I don't know. It just looked really good. It was really close up on his face, and just candlelit him and whatever he was holding. Looked really good. But I think my favorite shot that I will go with is was just him standing in front of like the factory in the background
Yeah.
in the water, and he was looking out at it at first, and then he just turned around, kind of walked towards the camera kind of zoomed in on him as well, and then it just,
Yeah.
I mean, man, does he just looks really really good on camera. I don't know, and he
Josh O'Connor is a gorgeous fucking man.
yeah,
That is a beautiful guy.
it looked
Um,
it looked just so
yeah,
good.
no, that shot you're talking about, I actually saved it to my phone because it was fucking
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah, and I think it was
Um,
maybe during the song as well. I
it
think it was
is.
like
It's
maybe
during the grave robbing montage.
yeah.
It is.
Oh
Um,
man, yeah, that was really cool.
I
That
mean,
montage. Um,
well, and what's also really cool is thinking about what is over there, what he's looking at. I'm fairly certain that's the factory there in front of when he finds the statue. Um, that's what's on the shore there, you know. On the other
oh,
side, I'm pretty
okay,
sure it's like, and
yeah,
it's like calling to him
okay.
almost, you
So that's
know.
why he always just kind of comes there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like
and
there's something that's calling to him over there, and
because I guess they did
what?
find gold. Like, I don't know, just even that
Mm-hmm.
random dude like found some gold or whatever, and maybe like I guess maybe there is like a big like that is the big treasure actually
Mm-hmm.
what he is stumbling upon, and I guess he'll never be able to see it in the eyes of the people on Earth and the goons or whatever that'll go and dig it up right
The
afterwards.
goons. Yeah.
But in his eyes, he's where he wants to be. And
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. That stuff didn't matter in the first place. Because yeah, it didn't even really seem that he had like a love for archaeology. It was just because it was connected to the dead
A
or to
calling, like
yeah.
there is something that is drawing him to it. It's not even something
Wow.
he seems particularly passionate about.
Dude,
And
man, what these are, man, just cool movies like The Cure, or
yeah.
I always call it The Cure, just Cure this, like, and movies that just get you to think of, I don't know, I feel like this is, um, very Greek mythology like inspired.
Hmm.
I don't know,
Oh, very, very
and
deeply influenced by old
yeah,
mythologies. Yeah.
I like mythology movies.
Mm.
Grounded in our reality today is really really cool. That's a cool concept. And I don't know. This really worked. This just I was in when I just heard Josh O'Connor in archaeology, but he wasn't even really in it for the archaeology really at all. And this movie was
God.
way
And
different than that.
again, I talked about it last week with Arrival. If there's a romance, it only makes it better for me. And you get two romances in this
Yeah.
movie that you don't know are actually unfolding
Uh-huh.
alongside each other. And I got chills just thinking about it. Like it just made it
Ooh.
one of those movies where I watched it and I was just like, that's why I'm so glad I got to watch it last night. I couldn't do what you're doing now. I couldn't have finished it and hopped right on. I had to
Yeah.
sit with it. I had to think about it because I couldn't even articulate why this movie resonated with me the way it did when I finished it. Like, all I knew when I finished it was that Josh O'Connor was really good. It was fucking gorgeous, and the ending made me cry. And then I had to evaluate why the ending made me cry and what was happening there and all that. And like, I worked backwards from there almost versus I
Yeah.
just let it wash over me, and then I was like, oh my god, that movie was so fucking good. Like that was
That is
how it
strange
went for me.
because I am at one point like I'm saying that I'm like he has everything he wants with Italia like in that train station like why is he leaving? But
Mhm.
even when I'm watching it, I'm not like screaming like no at the screen or I'm not like no no no. I'm already crying like at that point because I like
Yeah.
I'm like damn it. Like this is where the movie is
And it
going and like
doesn't
it
feel
can't.
wrong,
Yeah, it
like
yeah, and it's good. It was good. So like and I didn't even know truly why I was crying, but I just was
Mhm.
because it felt
Mhm.
right. It just felt like this, even though it did feel right for him to stay, and that I wanted him to stay, and that it would be a
Well, and
nice,
he's
happy
seeing the
ending.
red thread throughout the movie, and and that's what's cool too is that every dig it feels like he's getting closer to that. That's something he's chasing. He's looking for the red thread.
Oh
That's
shit! That's what he's on the train with his buddies, and then he looks. I maybe, but he looks like up through the
mhm.
ceiling, and there, like the red thread is flowing or
Like
whatever.
dangling and
And then
blowing in the yeah.
is that what transfers him into like seeing all the dead people, or is that two different train rides?
I think it's the
Um,
same train ride. I think it's the same train ride. But
huh.
like, yeah, no, like there is something calling to him, and that is the physical representation of it on screen is the red thread that is tied to Benjamina in the other plane, and I think that that's like
Wow.
there's just a really fascinating metaphysical
Whoa.
gorgeous idea
Whoa.
this movie's playing with, and I adore it. I absolutely
It's
loved
like
La Chimera.
it's like your life. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too philosophical and mytholic. I don't know. Whatever now.
Mythological.
But like it's like your life is actually just like you're cooking. You're actually just gaining all the knowledge you need for your
Yeah.
real life to start in the after. I don't know. Like you're cooking your
Well, and that's
soul sort of thing.
right, right. And
And
that's what's interesting about the idea of, past lives and something another great
oh
fucking
yeah,
movie.
good
But
movie,
no,
but
I didn't
past
mean it
life,
like that.
yes,
Oh yeah, but past
reincarnation sort of.
lives
Yeah.
and what comes next, Like if there is something after this, what makes it any less important than the life we're leading now? If there was a life before this, what made it any less important than the life we're leading now? And I think that this movie really emphasizes that
Mm.
if there is life on the next plane, it has as much value as this one does. And if you are drawn to that plane, if there is a calling to you, there,
Yeah.
not in a certain type of way, but like,
Feels weird. It feels weird to be like, hey, just go out it feels like cultish to be like, yeah, just fucking
mhm.
go out and trust if you have a calling that feels undead to you, go out and do. But like, no, like there is like I don't know.
Well, and it doesn't have to be undead. If
There
there's anything that feels
it's
like a
just
calling, if there is something
yeah.
that is like,
Mm,
this is what I'm supposed to do. Some people call that feeling God. Like some
mm,
people, like that is what religion is built upon.
yeah.
Is like people being like, oh, well, God is leading me to do this. Like, this is what God wants me to do. And that might very well be it. I don't know. It might just be that you know what you want deep down.
Yeah.
But maybe there is some otherworldly control that is drawing you certain places. And I think that this movie plays with those ideas
Whoa.
in super compelling and really grounded way, which is really fascinating. There's like a magical realism to this movie where like stuff isn't quite real, but it's all grounded in very real settings and real places. You can tell it's taking place on Earth. It's never like, oh, we're in some mythological plane now. I can't tell where this isn't a city in the clouds or anything.
But
like
his
it's
clothes are very. His outfit is very different. You know, it's just simple, and like when he puts on a pink shirt for the first time, you know, is whenever he's trying to really try to live life and give it its fullest try, and even then it doesn't quite work. But as and this, the more and more I talked about, I mean, I already loved it. I already put it pretty high up on just my favorites of all time. Oh, which isn't even in order, anyways. But it found its way into like the 40s, 40s already. So I mean, I'm loving it even more now that I'm having all of these thoughts connect.
It was one of those ones where like I went and logged on Letterboxd and I threw it a 5, and then I was like, no, like it was no question. I was like, yeah, this is a 5, and then I had to like evaluate why I felt that way. Like there was no like I didn't have a reason. I was just like this again. It was like a calling. It was like yes, this was a movie for me. It felt right. You know, like there was no. And then just thinking about it more and more and more, it occupied my thoughts all day, and it occupied my thoughts until I fell asleep last night. And I was just like, God, I loved the movie. I loved it so much. So I cannot wait to eventually watch it again. It's not one that I particularly need to anytime soon. However, I think it could be a very rich rewatch.
Yes.
And
unlike
it was one of those ones where it ended, and yes, it ended, and I was like, I'm ordering that on Blu-ray.
This is a physical one. This one's beautiful. Yes, this one.
It's available for pre-order now. You can get it by June 10th.
Oh, so, yeah. This one deserves that tier of physical copy for sure. And yeah, definitely unlike Arrival in the sense that there's no even the twist here. There is kind of a twist at the end, a little bit there, but no, not in the sense where it's like, oh, now I know the big twist, so it's not satisfying anymore. And now that I know the twist, it'll honestly make it more satisfying whenever I watch it.
Knowing what he's being drawn to and knowing what he's chasing and like, I don't know if you read the Letterboxd description. Oh my God, if I had read that before I watched the movie, I would have been fucking pissed. Like, I feel like that's an interpretation of the movie, not the movie as it's being laid out before you.
So literally out of jail with his buddies, grave robbers, yeah, literal events like here.
Yeah, like it's well, and that's the other thing too is that like it's just I'll read it for those listening. Just out of jail and still searching for his late beloved Benjamina, crumpled archaeologist Arthur reconnects with his wayward crew of Tombaroli accomplices, a happy-go-lucky collective of itinerant grave robbers who survive by looting Etruscan tombs and fencing the ancient treasures they dig up. Arthur isn't interested in the artifacts, though. He's seeking a legendary door to the underworld and to Benjamina, which is like never actually stated during the movie. It never actually, like, the revelation at the end of the movie is that that's what he was searching for. You know?
To say, like, the whole description they have is very literal, and then to have in the last line, he's seeking a legendary door to the underworld. Just to throw that in there is kind of wild.
I don't think you need the last, like, I was like, dude, I read it after, and I was like, fuck, if I would have read this before, I'd be kind of pissed, you know? Because then I'd be watching the movie like, what the fuck makes them think he's searching for the fucking underworld? And then you get to the end and you'd be like, oh, so the description literally just spoils the fucking ending. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's a bad. I don't know why they need to include that there, but because it's not very obvious from the beginning whatsoever. Yeah, no, and that's the only reason I logged it a 4.5 because of just the first act. At first, it was just. It was
Takes a
beautiful, and
while
I
to get
had
going.
nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I mean, like I was vibing with it, and it was great to look at. It was just I don't know. I didn't know where the movie was going at all, and so I don't know. It was just
And the first act does not give you a sense of where it's going either.
but it
It
comes back
will,
around. Yeah.
yeah. Like now if you
So
watch it again, the first
mhm.
act will hit like a motherfucker. Is kind of how I
Because he wakes up
anticipate it.
on the train, like he, whether he is already in a different plane already, and this isn't Earth, and he is dead from the beginning. It is either it may be that, or it is just like he feels dead. He can he is
Yeah,
on Earth, but he's dead.
there is
You know. Um,
there's another astral self kind of thing happening.
hmm And yeah, I don't know. I think I draw more towards that one. The latter there. That he is actually on Earth, but
I do too. Yeah.
not full.
I
His
don't think he's
soul
literally
isn't here.
entering another
Yeah.
world. Yes, his
Um.
soul. That's the emptiness inside him. Is his soul isn't here. He's almost searching for it because it died with Benjamina. Is kind of how I
hmm
view it.
And man, even like his house that he or his little shack that he built
Mhm.
himself. And I love that Italia is even like, man, it's incredible what you've built here. Like she's all loving it, and like she is like literally perfect. Like I guess,
Yeah.
and I think that is kind of the point of her character now talking through it. But even like as it's getting just taken away, it's just for that factory. Is that like what are they building
I
there?
think
Is
so.
that like the
Well, I think it's just a further idea of the industrialization. It might not be that factory, but like they are tearing down the countryside in order to build something that is.
okay? Because I was trying to think of like maybe that house that we see him go into is not like that is his grave, and the factory is building over it, exposing his grave, and that he has been dead or something, something like
Right,
that. But
right.
it
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
seem
He
that
goes
way.
there after it's been torn down, right before he goes to Ripperbella, the train station,
Mm-hmm.
with um,
Because
the
it
little girl.
feels. I guess if he wakes up on the train, supposedly coming back from jail and whatever. Like it doesn't feel like his. I don't know. It doesn't feel like he has a like it feels like this is a lesson that he is just having to go through. This doesn't feel like part of his life. I don't know. Like this
Mm-hmm.
it is it doesn't feel
Almost a trial.
mhm.
Like it almost feels like the only way he can reach Benjamina is by learning the lessons from Italia. Italia had to teach him. Like what he learns from Italia is that this isn't his home, but he also realizes the wrong he's
Mm.
doing. Like there is a guilt that comes with what he's doing, but he can't help but chase it. He needs to find what it's telling him to find.
Cuz I'm trying to think of the visuals of like if there's anything that gives any inclination of how she died, of any like
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think there
there's
is a
anything.
single like
Like
every time we see Benjamina, I'm fairly certain it is the other plane and her
where they're like
calling to him.
embracing at the like
Yeah,
where
I don't think it's like a flashback. I don't think it's a memory. I think he's seeing her on the other side. Um
ah
and now I mean a rewatch might recontextualize that, but I think
mhm
rewatching knowing that will make the movie hit like a fucking
yeah.
truck from the
Oh,
fucking beginning. Um
dude, wow, yeah. This is one that definitely warrants a rewatch. That's for sure.
mm,
And man, and a great man, a one that you haven't seen either. I'm glad that makes me feel a lot more comfortable. Maybe throwing in one that I haven't seen.
Oh, dude, the run of the ones I haven't seen for the last few are fucking strong. I mean, because we've done what? Cure, Arrival, and then now this. 3 for 3 movies I haven't seen. 3 for 3 movies that instantly became all-time favorites. So, like,
Yeah.
and now I've got 2 movies left to choose. I'm thinking I'm going to go with one I've never seen before and cap it off with one that I have and love. I think I'm going to split it. I'm going to go 3 movies I haven't seen, 3 movies I have. And I think that's kind of how I'm going to do it. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, man. I loved this movie. I feel like I've kind of exhausted at least my deeper thoughts about the movie. I don't know how much deeper I could dive. Is there anything we've left out favorites wise?
I think lines. I mean, I guess we haven't just explicitly said. But I mean, I'll go with Italia's saying of that those things aren't made for human eyes, but for eyes of souls. Her, and then she got laughed at, but it was that was a tear up moment for me. I was like, you know what, hell yeah, stand up for yourself. And even the other girl that was there, kind of like got in the car with her, ends up there at the train station too. That was really cool.
Wins her over,
yeah.
like that's. And that was one of the moving things too, is that Italia and that's a good example of what Italia can be for people, and what she isn't for Arthur. She draws somebody away from this life into hers, into her orbit, and into this piece that she's created, and it can't work on
it's
Arthur.
Like, it's like whenever they start growling at each other at the end and like on the boat and stuff, it's like
God, I love that.
He's kind of in his other plane, like whenever he's watching them at that point, and it's almost like when you're in the afterlife, things are simplified down to that form. Like it might sound like they're arguing in complex English and their insults are throwing left and right, but yeah, that's all that's happening there.
Another connection to the animals, they're making the animal noises. They're not.
It's just base animal instincts what they're doing. They're not.
And at that point in the argument, all they're going is nuh-uh, yeah-huh, nuh-uh, yeah-huh. They're literally repeating the same thing back and forth.
It's the best. It's the best argument you can make ever. You can say nuh-uh to anything, and it works.
Anything.
But no, yeah, I love that. I used to be like, well, humans are just animals. We are animals too, and we, at the end of the day, we have instincts. But like, there is something that sets us apart. I don't know. We have the choice to not give in to our instincts. I feel like that is maybe it's the happenstance of just the civilization we've built that allows us to not have to be wild and kill each other and everything. But like, I think that is what sets us apart, is that we don't have to resort to our base instincts every day, and we can create. Like, no other creature. I mean, like a beaver creates a dam, but that is for survival.
Creates a nest.
They create their homes. It's like it's out of survival. We create things out of fun and for prosperity and for whatever. So
love, for passion.
It's like that's kind of cool. And now this kind of thought of that I'm cooking my soul right now. Even if I don't maybe particularly believe in an afterlife, I don't. It might be there. That's the thing. It could be there. And I'm more of like, I'll live my life now so that if it's not, I lived it to the fullest potential. But if it is, then I guess I am cooking my soul to the fullest potential too.
When it comes to the afterlife, I know faith is very important in all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's literally no fucking way for us to know what the afterlife actually is. I know we've got a lot of it set up as like, well, you can go to heaven or you can go to hell. It's like, you fucking know that though?
No.
And I know that's faith. That's what faith is, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to piss off any Christians. Like, that is, I get that.
Maybe it could be that
basic.
simple.
It could be. It could be. Like, and that's why I'm going like, it could be, and I don't know. I'm not going, it could be, and therefore I must trust.
You don't know until you know, and I've gotten close a couple times actually, and there's been some weird shit. I will say it could have just been my brain tripping balls because I'm there, but I don't know. It's gotten me to think about it a little more. It's been like, okay, we don't know everything, and you don't know the afterlife, sadly, until you're there. And there's that, or
unless you're Josh O'Connor's character Arthur in the movie La Chimera.
True. It would be nice. Yeah, if I don't know, maybe we do have people out there that do have this, but we just don't know because it's not, it would be seen as funny or
insane.
Like, yeah, it'd be like, yeah, you're stupid and you're dumb, but yeah. I don't know. It'd be weird if there is just someone out there that's just robbing graves right now, being seen as a criminal, but in reality,
they're like, I'm chasing my dead wife.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. My past love. I don't know. It seems that she was never even in this world to begin with. I don't know. Like
Right.
she was, maybe that he was just born and he was like, just fuck. Like why? Like
There's
why?
an
Like
ethereal, otherworldly presence about her throughout this movie. Yeah. No,
maybe
I like Benjamina.
he is just to allow humanity to discover that temple, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and that's all he needed, because he just needed to die at the end of the day, you know. His body was just, sadly, it was a very sexy human body that was wasted on, you know,
Damn.
just whatever.
There's
But
a scene when he's grilling in like a button-down shirt and he's not
yep,
wearing anything underneath,
yep,
and I was like,
yep,
yep.
yep.
That.
And he's seen as skinny too, and it's like because he's not eating and he's like homeless and like, or
Yeah.
like whatever, and he's still
He
looking.
actually he filmed half of this movie before he filmed Challengers, and he filmed half of it after. So if there are scenes where he looks fucking huge compared to other parts of the movie, it's because he was filming Challengers prior.
There were. Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, no. Challengers is. I mean, I watched that movie and then I took it upon myself to be like, yeah, I'll make a change in my life. I'll be like, yeah, that's.
I played tennis for 4 hours earlier this week.
Challengers is really life changing. You know,
I've lost 40 pounds since watching Challengers.
Josh O'Connor and Zendaya and
Mike Faced.
Thank you,
Mike Faced.
Thank you. It was really him. Just sitting in his apartment doing his little routine and his little his shakes and stuff, and I'm like, you know what?
Sitting in that chair and then going,
yep.
You know, like I remember being like, yeah. I was I gotta try a little harder, don't I? Okay. You know, that was kind of how that went.
Got to come from somewhere. Yeah, it's like, damn it. It's like, fuck. There's a reason why, I guess. But
yeah.
But yeah, no. It continues even whenever he's supposed to look shriveled up and not malnourished. He's still looking.
They do it with the makeup a little bit. The makeup is effective.
Mm-hmm. His beard
he starts to look like a
skeleton.
And, you know, he starts to look like the bags under his eyes go deeper, and he gets really carved up here. And it's like, so I think there's something to the idea that they're trying to progressively make him look like he's closer to death than he is living.
Yeah.
And I mean, when the movie starts, they're talking about how he stinks, like how he smells of death. Essentially, you know, like it's not like it's interesting. I love the movie, man. So I'm super happy that that Emily decided we'd watch La Chimera last night.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, because I gave her two options for those listening. I was like, we can watch this or we can watch this. Tell me which one you prefer, because I can't decide. And she chose La Chimera. So shout out to Emily. That's why we got to watch one of my new favorite movies of all time, and it rocks. I might end up watching the other one. That's why I'm not saying what it is, just in case I end up wanting to choose it. But
interesting, yeah.
That's
I got a little bit of that going on. That's I guess. Well, maybe I'll save that. Actually, that'll be. I don't know whenever we're actually doing that. The next one, but. Yeah, we haven't even rated this one, so I got to hold my horses here.
Yeah, but you know what? We're there. We're there. So I'll go ahead and do the plugs. After we do the plugs, we're gonna rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10, enjoyment and critical. Joseph is going to announce his penultimate cinema surprise for season 1, and then we are going to do album of the week, and I'm very, very excited for that as well. But yeah, if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom-pod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, early access content, and the Penny Bloom Dispatch. For those who are listening on the Cinema Surprise page, you can listen on the Penny Bloom podcast as well. However, that show is going to dramatically change after Cinema Surprise and House of the Dragon Season 2 ends, and it will become the Penny Bloom Dispatch, essentially, which is just segment-based entertainment news or archaeology, as Joe has dived into a little bit deeper. Just segment-based stuff, not super... You know, we've been all over the place in the past, and we want to, once a week, focus things a little bit. But right now, we are doing a trial run, essentially, on Patreon, working out the kinks, how we want that show to flow, how we want that show to run. It's going to be much more timely, much more relevant, not just whatever we want, whenever we want. So you can get that for free on patreon.com/pennybloom-pod. To gain access to all the other stuff, it will be $1.50 a month. which is huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod, follow on Instagram and TikTok at Penny Bloom Podcast. Twitter is really the place you need to be, though, if you want any updates on when Cinema Surprise Season 2 is coming. And we've got other surprises as well. Not going to announce those yet officially, but we do have other surprises coming for Cinema Surprise, even ahead of Season 2. So you're gonna wanna be on the Twitter. You're gonna want to know when those things are coming, because I think anything in between might just randomly pop up. I don't know. But we've also got the Sentimentalists coming up here in a couple months. Any updates on that? We've got a couple other things we're thinking about doing. So if you want to know, Twitter at Penny Bloom Pod. That is where you will find everything you need to know about what we're doing. You can also follow me on Twitter at @Coro_Bloom. If you have any interest, you can follow Joe at Super Shorty Joe. And
I always forget that that's my Twitter.
Yeah,
man, I made that. I don't even know whenever I first made that, but I'm never changing it. I'm never changing.
I mean, it works perfect. I kind of fucking love it.
I'm never changing.
But yep, Super Shorty Joe and Coro_Bloom. So you can watch all that over there. Follow us. Follow the podcast. Keep up with us in any way you can. Follow me on Letterboxd at Colton Robertson. You can follow Joe on Letterboxd. I don't know what your handle is.
It's Rager JG over there. Maybe it'd be nice.
Rager
to make
JG.
Them... Can I change that? Is that a thing
you
I
can
can change?
It. Yes,
yeah, maybe
yes. You can change it to Joseph George.
To Super Shorty Joe, if that's not taken.
Oh, Super Shorty Joe.
I don't know. Maybe that's funny.
Maybe
I don't know. Maybe I will go under a change. I don't know. I'll give it some thought. Actually,
we'll see. We'll see. So, but yeah, in the meantime, you can follow me on Letterboxd, and you actually would find that you'd have to scroll pretty far down my diary to find the movies we've been covering lately. We're quite ahead of the ball game in comparison to when this is coming out. So. Yeah, a lot of stuff, but Twitter is the place to be, at Penny Bloom Pod. You can also watch on YouTube now. Just look up Penny Bloom Podcast. That's where everything is. We haven't really divulged into breaking up the other shows stuff for other YouTube. I feel like that's a lot, and we're even debating scrapping video. So like there might not be a YouTube for long. There is a YouTube for now though, so you ought to be over there if you want to watch us. Yeah, and then leave a 5-star rate and review and download wherever you might be listening. If you're listening on Cinema Surprise, please download. If you are not listening on Cinema Surprise, do. I would prefer it, actually. I would like if you started giving Cinema Surprise the boost it needs to get off the ground and make us feel a little bit, like we're going somewhere with it. Because Season 2 will be Cinema Surprise exclusive. It will no longer be available on Penny Bloom Podcast. But yeah, the plugs are getting quite lengthy now. Now that there's so much going on and so many changes happening. So
that's true.
But let's go ahead and rate this thing. You're there.
I'm there now. Yeah, I mean 4.5 on Letterboxd before, and then after talking through it, it was just the first act. That was my only holdup, and just how slow. Just it was a little slow, but now, whenever I rewatch it, there's no way I see it that way. It is instantly. It's different, for sure. So yeah, no, I'm there. I already changed my Letterboxd rating as well. Up to a 5.
Fuck yeah,
so,
we ride.
Yeah,
I haven't had to use a Sumai yet. So like, you mean 10?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, 10 here. Yeah. 10
okay. Cool.
Enjoyment. Yeah. No.
Cool. I thought I would have to. I thought today would be the day that I might have to Sumai a 10.
No. No. I mean, I guess
what's that? 3 straight? Is that 3 straight 10 enjoyments?
Pure Arrival and La Chimera.
God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a few good fucking weeks, baby.
If it wasn't a 10, I mean, it would have been a 9.75 for me. I mean, before, and that was with that was my only gripe. So,
yeah, when you had a gripe. Yeah. No, like that's. Yeah. No, I
So-
struggle to find anything I think is wrong with this film. Even I do think that perhaps it's a little lengthy. Maybe it's a little long in the tooth. But it's still extremely well edited, and I think on a rewatch, I'd have no issue with the length, like I don't think that would be something, because it was the first act, the first 45 minutes you are kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? But now that I know where it was going, I'm like, oh, the first act kind of fucking ripped is kind of how I recontextualize it in my head. So I'm like, I mean, it's beautiful to look at. It's exquisitely well performed. Carol Duarte Josh O'Connor and Isabella Rossellini are kind of the highlights.
Let me ask you, is it Casablanca level?
The screenplay is not Casablanca level.
That's
Everything else is pretty close to being Casablanca level, and even then, I can't tell you that Josh O'Connor's as good as Humphrey Bogart. I can't tell you Carol Duarte's as good as Ingrid Bergman. Like it's one of those things where like I have to go lower than Casablanca.
the next step down is Cure at a 9.5 though, and
I'd say it's every bit as good as Cure.
that one I can 100% say. I might even like if I could
split the
do a
difference.
do a little split. Critically there on my just kind of my overall favorites. I have this one at my 4 right now for the total cinema surprise. And it is only the only ones that are above it. It's Tron. Tron had to be up there, but that's 3.
Of course.
Actually, it's not 1. It is 3.
Damn.
I have Cure at number 2 and Arrival at number 1. Just some new movies that have really shaken up my game. But I have Casablanca at 5 actually, which is kind of nuts. And like my favorite, just pure favorites of like ones that I know I'm gonna keep coming back to, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's tough. I think this would be 3 actually for me. I think I would go off the top of my head Casablanca. My 2, 3, 4 are really hard because they're Cure, this, Arrival, and I don't know. I like them all for vastly different reasons, which is like but those are my top 4 comfortably.
Yeah. So are we in agreement on a 9.5 there though? Critically,
yes, 100%.
Okay,
I'm perfectly okay with that.
Then
so rounds out to the same as Cure.
Same as Cure, and not quite the same as Arrival. Arrival not made quite as well as this, and I agree with that. And yeah, so 96.6. Another 666 one in there. Kind of funny. We do have another
the Underworld.
Here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, 97% there. Definitely deserving.
Yeah, that's yeah. I fucking loved it. So I'm happy. I'm like it makes me want to do more of the ones I haven't seen, but I know that to cap it off, I want to do one I'm like certain. I'm like I know is going to hit, but like I'm gonna do one more. I think my next pick will be one I haven't seen before. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then with that at a 97%, that closes the episode on La Chimera. And now, do you want to do album of the week, or do you want to go ahead and announce your cinema surprise?
My album does connect to the movie, so I guess
then go ahead and do your album.
Yeah,
let's do that.
We could do that. I mean, during the movie, I was listening and I texted you during this. I'm like, wait a minute, is this Daft Punk? I had like I had to actually stop and think for a second. It was not. It was Mr. Oh man, I had it pulled up. Dang it. I closed my Apple Music right before this.
Mr. Machine or something like that.
It
was Kraftwerk on the album.
Yeah,
The
Man Machine. There it is. Yeah, The Man Machine by Kraftwerk with a K. And the song that's in there is Space Lab. It's track 2. And I already added that one. I loved that that track, and all the rest of them are definitely the same vibe. They're all very techno. And they have just that, I don't know what to call that voice, like the synthy voice, like the robotic, just like
right.
I don't know. It's just really satisfying to me. Yeah. And it's only music I listen to whenever I'm like doing homework or whenever I need to kind of like lock in. And like I feel like I just become robotic almost, and it gets me there. So this album is perfect for that. I used to use just a lot of Daft Punk, but now this has opened me up to the 70s and a lot of just early. There's a lot more out there that I have not listened to. So I did say that I would expand my horizons from last week, and that I wouldn't do something that I know. And I'm glad that I did find something new, and something that I'll be going down the rabbit hole even further. So yeah, Kraftwerk. Some
beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful way to cap off July. This is the last the last album of the week
Oh
for the month
wow.
of July. And I am going with Blue by Joni Mitchell. Um, fucking just one of the greatest albums of all time. Uh, I have it on CD upstairs, and absolutely gorgeous work. I love the song Carrie. I love the song California. There's a there's a glee to those songs that the rest of the album, there's a few tracks that bleed through, but Blue, it's a pretty melancholic album. It's not
Mm-hmm.
exactly positive, and that's why La Chimera felt like the right one, where it permeates this energy that almost like by the end of it, I feel good and I feel like it's nice,
Mm.
but it wasn't particularly happy, and I think that kind of fit the vibe here. So I
Okay.
went with Blue by Joni Mitchell.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, mine. Robotic. I don't know. It doesn't. I haven't really. I've only listened to the first 3 or 4 tracks of the album so far. It didn't really seem it was going anywhere sad or blue.
Right,
Was
right.
yeah, very weird part. I don't know. Very different part of the
Dropped
score.
in, yeah.
And just boom was out of nowhere. And I'm like,
I've
okay.
actually been listening to a
Um.
playlist which is just songs from the movie because they don't have a soundtrack. It's
Mm, mm-hmm.
just a
Collection of
compilation
songs.
of
Yeah.
songs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking it bangs. But
Wow.
yeah, no,
Okay.
I love it. I love it. But with that, what is your penultimate cinema surprise for season 1?
Well, technically, I don't know. I don't know yet. There are 2 movies that I have here, and I am okay with either of these 2 movies, but I actually just need you. You are the deciding factor, and I'm not even going to let you know on which movie is which, or like to describe
Oh,
which one they are. I just
I
need, I cannot make the decision myself, and I need one just to happen first. They are both,
mm,
I have not seen either of them. One
okay,
is
love
just
that.
one that I've barely seen. Only like literally the first 20 minutes of, but it is so very vastly different movies, completely different.
Different eras.
I need very different eras.
Okay,
Maybe
okay.
there. I'll give you that. Maybe that I'll give you some choice to it. One is old and one is new in the 20s. So I guess we have had a 20s
Mm,
movie.
mm.
So maybe if you want I'll let that decision up to you. Do you want to stay new or do you want to go back and have an older movie?
My next one was gonna be old.
We could go back to back or we
We could
could
go back to back. We
I
could
guess
go
it
back to
would.
back.
I guess it probably will go back to back anyways, because I
I'm gonna
probably will
go.
take the other movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, right.
Um,
I'm gonna go old. I'm gonna go old. Give me the old one.
okay. Well, we're going old. And we're going silent. It is. I watched the first 20 minutes of this. This is the Passion of Joan of Arc, 1928. Whenever I don't know, I think it was just the first 15 minutes. I saw a few teardrops. Just from I saw just how gorgeous a silent movie. I don't know. It was already just so good, and I want to get a silent movie under my belt. And also Babylon. This is one in that massive checklist that I
Mm,
eventually want to. It's kind of a long term bucket list, or not just a list that I want to check off eventually. So yeah.
beautiful.
The Passion of Joan
Old,
of Arc,
old. Love it. Love
1928.
it.
Yeah, I wanted to take it way
Okay. I
back.
have seen that one. I have seen that one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I'm excited because that's a damn good movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a damn good story. Joan of Arc. It's a real fucking
Yeah.
person. So like,
And I've never even
yeah,
heard it. Like I
history.
know
Um,
of the name, but I don't even know of the
hmm
story. So
hmm
it is I don't know one that I've just wanted
No,
to get around to,
I'm excited
and
for that. Then
so
I'm
yeah.
excited to get a silent film in. I was curious if that's where you were taking it when you said silent film
Mm-hmm.
because there's a few goodies that I've watched. I was curious if you were going to go Charlie Chaplin with it or
Mm-hmm.
stick in that realm or yeah, yeah. All right.
But
Hell yeah. Then
yeah, okay.
after La Chimera, we're going to go back nearly 100 years. We're going back 95 years to cover
Damn.
The Passion of Joan
Mm-hmm.
of Arc,
Yeah,
and that is a fantastic fucking
we're
film.
digging
So
up a
I'm very
grave.
ready.
We are digging up,
Yeah.
and letting these actors live again. As
Mm.
in Babylon, I forgot what character in Babylon said that, but
It was
something.
played by Jean Smart, the journalist. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember who she
Yes,
was, but yeah.
perfect. Yes. Yeah, whatever their character name was, but perfect. Yeah. But yeah, I guess definitely the oldest movie I'll ever see. That's for sure. That it's gonna be the next oldest one. But yeah, I don't know. I'm eager. I'm eager to get to it. So and finally
I'm excited.
actually
excited.
watch it. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So does that mean your other one is going to be your last one, you think?
Probably. I'll probably still stick
Gotcha.
with it.
Gotcha.
I was really hoping you would choose this one. Actually, I was
Yeah.
kind of leaning more towards it. Not gonna lie. But the other one I still
Both of
really
my
want to see. So
both of my older ones that are on the table potentially are still far more contemporary than 20s. So like
okay.
it won't feel like quite as big a throwback if I go with one of them. But
Okay.
yeah. All right. Beautiful. Then next week on Cinema Surprise, we will be covering our first ever silent film on the Penny Bloom podcast.
That's true.
In The Passion of Joan of Arc, and I cannot wait for it. You better be there. And with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And you are not made for human eyes.